And remember to keep voting for your favorite in Ghana's Most Beautiful so you can help her to the top. Yesterday, beautiful performances, by the way, and there were some awards that were given on the night, star performer, most eloquent, and a number of them. So congrats to the regions and their representatives. And we know that moving forward is going to get even more competitive, and so we hope all the girls bring their A games on. But you're welcome back. This is still TV3 Newday. It's Monday morning, quite cloudy out there. Be safe, like I keep telling you. But let's quickly take a look at what we have in our papers with regards to the headlines. We'll start off with the Finder. And it says COVID-19 ICU cases doubling at an alarming rate, according to Dr. Owu. And bird flu affects 10,311 fowls, according to Dr. Abake. Now, Cabinet tackles terrorism, piracy, which are threatening Ghana, according to the Information Minister. And banking sector cleanup, lessons for Ghana from convictions in Nigeria. And just last week, the President commissioned the 15,000-seater National Mosque. Very great news, especially for the Muslim community. Tomorrow also being a holiday for them. I'm sure that a lot of highlights will be thrown on it. And then finally, mid-year budget of Oriata to seek 6 billion Ghana cedis. Over 500,000 jobs for the youth have been targeted. And now to the Daily Guide. It says government plans new development agenda. And we have a photo of the Information Minister on there. Also, bird flu strikes again. That'll be on page 6. Attorney General moves to close down 3 Ponzi schemes. And a $5 million bribe against Chief Justice Baloni, according to seasoned journalist Mr. Kweku Bako. And we have a photo of him and also the Chief Justice on there as well. And privileges war breaks out in Parliament over the issue concerning Mr. Kennedy Ejapong and those statements that he made, and subsequently the fact that he has been, sent to the Privileges Committee for them to handle the issue. Now, the MPP has also raised some issues concerning statements or comments that were made by the communications officer of the NDC. And they are saying that Sami Jemfi should also be sent to the Privileges Committee. We'll get into that if there's time, but we'll reap full benefits of after if Ghanaians learn French language. That's according to the president. This is on the Ghanaian Times. And also health alert, government bans importation of poultry products following outbreak of bird flu in parts of the country. 6 die, others injured in separate accidents in the Ashanti region. Terrorism, piracy activities in West Africa. Ghana faces threat from sub-region as attacks increase in Burkina Faso and La Côte d'Ivoire. You'll find that on page 17. The Daily Graphic, and on there as well says, President, Speaker must deepen peace. That's according to Otumfuo Osei Tutu. And AG petitions court to dissolve QNet Limited, accuses company of fraud and illegality. And 9 MPs table motion for CSR law enactment. Now the Statesman, the Daily Statesman says, President commissions National Mosque Complex. Very beautiful edifice, I must say. And government mobilizes efforts against terrorism, calls on citizens for support. 2022 to 2025 development policy framework to be ready very soon. The Custodian says government rally citizens to fight terrorism and piracy. Let's make NPA financially viable. That's according to the new CEO of NPA, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, and continue to promote religious tolerance in Ghana. That's according to the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and he's urging other heads of states as well. It says that President is cutting the tape to officially open the National Mosque that was completed as well, and we deserve better incentives. Okay, finally, Business and Financial Times. Poor revenue mobilization will prolong recovery efforts, and industry subsidizing residential power must stop. AGI to government. In the studios this morning, I have the former MP for Okaikwe North constituency, Honorable Fusaini Isa, in the studios. Good morning. Yeah, good morning. How are you doing?
Very well. Yourself?
Was it raining? I'm good, thank you. Was it raining when you were coming?
Okay. I'm praying for the rains. We are told that this year we probably won't have good rains.
Yeah.
Although there's not a lot of great activity around this place, I'm sure we also do with some rain, and it's just for the weather and for the dust to be washed away. So we pray for blessings to rains.
Definitely. And also in the studios, we have Dr. Clement Apak, and he is the MP for Busa South and also the deputy ranking member on the Education Committee in Parliament. Good morning to you as well.
Solinawa. Kubasa.
Solunalo. Kubasa.
When I say Solu, you say Solinalo.
Yeah.
So you greet me Solu.
Oh, Solu?
Solu Nalong.
Okay, but if it's a woman, Solina wa.
No, you still greet the same way.
But I said it last week and you said it was
The
almost
Solu
right.
is the response.
Okay. Everything okay though? How's your weekend?
Well, it was very active.
Yeah.
I mean, complaints from the home constituency and the region about a shortage of fertilizer. You know, I happen to come from a largely agrarian background.
Yeah.
Rice farming being very important in the Fumbisi Valley. Actually, it's in Bedemblisi, but we call it Fumbisi Valley. So that is a very big concern. But my parents even called to ask me to mobilize some 10 bags of fertilizer for them.
It's that bad.
And that is how bad it is.
A number of them have said that they've had to reduce the number of acres that they've had to.
It is really bad. And that is why on Friday, we raised it in Parliament. The Honorable Ayaraga raised it, and I supported that. Because given where we come from, this is the season where the fertilizer is most needed. And there are timelines where it has to be applied. When that passes, it is useless. So there's a lot of desperation among the farmers. This
is worrying, and I hope that a lot is done about it. I know that government tried to address the issue of fertilizer smuggling, of these subsidized fertilizers into other countries, which is why probably there are some shortages as well. But
that is true.
Let's hope that a lot is done. Quick one, belated happy birthday to Mrs. Emily Asuma of Mamprobi Presby Ebenezer Congregation. She resides at Teshi Century Road and says, "We wish you good health and long life from Alberta and Regina and all your daughters." So last week, we started a conversation. Of course, it was started by Dr. Clement Apark over questions he raised in Parliament concerning the amount that had been spent in procuring past questions for the 2020 WASSCE graduates. And, the education minister came to Parliament to answer these questions. And he indicated that 568,755 past questions had been bought at that time at a total of 33,644,043 Ghana cedis. And so he worked it out and said that meant that it was 59 Ghana cedis per unit. And then also the education minister indicated as well that in 2021, government has already bought 446,958 units of past questions at a unit cost of 78 Ghana cedis. And so the total amount was 34,862,412 Ghana cedis. And so we had the privilege of speaking to the Deputy Education Minister, Reverend Ntim Fojo, and he said that the numbers that were being bandied around were actually wrong because government did not spend 33 million and over on past questions in 2020. Let's quickly take a listen to what he said on the show last Thursday. Dr. Clement Apark has done some checks and he'll give us the details.
The figures Honorable Apark has given are incorrect for 2019 figures. As a matter of record, in the year 2019, procurement was done for 361,755 booklets containing wide past questions from 2013 to 2018. Also contained in that same booklet are comprehensive examiner's report for all 4 core subjects. These were procured at a unit price of 71 cedis, 25 pesos, 71.25. This brings the total to 25,775,043 cedis.75. So that is the figure available, and that is the figure that we have supplied. Now, the Honorable Apark knows very well that we have a procedure in Parliament. At the commencement of proceedings, there is provision for correction of votes and procedures in anticipation of typos and errors that may accompany some aspect or portions of our other paper or votes and procedures. Just yesterday, I rose up on the floor of Parliament and corrected certain errors and typos on 6 different pages. And the Speaker granted say, this morning when we go, any typo that was contained on our other paper or votes and proceedings, we'll correct it.
Okay.
And so that typo which he's hinging on to be a figure for which he computes, and that the unit cost comes up to 59 cedis per unit, and for which he...
All right, so that is Reverend Ntim Fojo. He's a Deputy Education Minister, and he was responding to the figures that had been put out by his own minister And he said those figures, by the way, were wrong. And so he was going back to Parliament to make corrections. Dr. Park is here.
Well, Bella, you see, first of all, let me greet viewers and greet the people of WASSCE South and wish them Barakat Salah, because I have a very vibrant and robust Muslim community, especially my chief imam, who has adopted me, Mazongo Kokus, led by Jamal, Seidu, and Rashid, and my chairman, who is going to go present some items on my behalf. I wish I were there, but I have to take care of some other matters. Okay. Also preparing for a funeral. Oh. So that is the reason why I'm actually here in the studio today. Okay. And to welcome my good friend. It's been a while.
Yes.
You know, we were together, and you know, we wished each other well. Before the election.
Oh, right before the election.
But he hoped that my seat will be taken by the MPP.
Oh,
and I also hope that his will be taken by the NDC. And so my wish came true.
And his didn't.
And his didn't. So that is just the way it is. But anyway, we still remain friends.
Yeah.
Bella, I think that it is important that we put certain things into perspective. Some of the reasons why people like you and the job you do is relevant is because you allow us the space to let the Ghanaian people know the way the system works. And for us as members of parliament, if you like to bring parliamentary proceedings to their doorstep. Yeah. Now, when I filed my questions, legitimately so, the speaker admitted my questions. And then the clerk at table processed the questions and conveyed that information to the sector minister. The sector minister would then liaise with the clerk's office to indicate when they will be available to answer the question. And they will usually convey ahead of when he would appear to read the question on the floor of the House to the clerk. The clerk and his team then prepare it in the form of what we call the order paper. So what is captured in the order paper is what the minister or the ministry will usually convey to the clerk of parliament. I say this because if you look at the narrative, the impression is created as though I made up figures and those figures are wrong, or perhaps the clerk of parliament made a mistake. As you played the deputy minister's voice, there were errors, they were incorrect. No, it is not a clerk, it's not Dr. Park. In fact, these are the answers that the minister himself conveyed to parliament and stood on his feet to read on the floor of parliament. So these responses will be captured in the Hansard. And indeed, parliament being a house of records, it is also documented in audio and video. Now, when I did my calculation, rightly so, it is based on the figures that the minister gave. And I had no reason to doubt the minister, except, of course, they want to tell us that his ministry and he himself provided parliament with wrong information. That is different.
But that's what the deputy minister said, that there were mistakes in the presentation who made that the minister made. And there's room for correction.
That is the issue. That you hold on a minute. Who made the mistakes? It is not me. It is not the clerk. Even if there was a mistake, that means they are admitting their incompetence. Because this is a very weighty question with a lot of, if you like, supplementaries in terms of people's eagerness to know the reality of what has happened. How do you make a mistake of this magnitude, where you actually provide details to the letter? So clearly, if there was a mistake, that mistake is not Dr. Park, who is giving incorrect figures, as the minister, deputy minister sought to say, or the clerk of parliament, because I have cross-checked the content of this answer with what is with the clerk, because we raised this issue on the floor of parliament. Remember when the deputy minister spoke, he said that it was not unusual for mistakes and typos to occur.
Yeah.
And that during the
presentation
proceedings, we always have what where we correct, you know.
Yeah.
He knows that. That will be done.
Yeah, he said there were even 6 pages where mistakes
That
had
was,
been.
he is talking about the previous, look at the votes and proceedings. Now, the next day after I appeared here, I was in Parliament. The Deputy Minister and Team Forjo wasn't even there, let alone to rise and seek to correct.
Probably busy with ministerial
Well, but he said it publicly, that he was going to come and correct mistakes. And he knew fully well that when you deal with Parliament, you deal with official documents. So if the minister, in communicating the answer to Parliament, made a mistake, they should admit it, that we made a mistake in the information that we provided to Parliament. And then they can then make an application to withdraw this answer that they say is inaccurate, which they brought in the first place, and then replace it with what they deem is accurate. But that is not your responsibility, that is not my responsibility, and that is not our mistake. We deal with records. As long as this stays, as long as the minister or the ministry does not apply to Parliament to correct this information, that is official. So when I do my calculation, and I come to the conclusion, based on what has been given, that it is 59 Ghana cedis per unit, I am right.
But you are saying that until they make the corrections, and so if they do make the corrections, then you're going to accept the new figure?
Well, if they do that, we would ask for a document to authenticate. I have seen a document that is being bandied around, that is purported to be a contract, which the Deputy Minister is carrying with him from one radio and TV
contract
station.
Between who and who?
Well, that is a contract between the ministry and Kingdom Books.
Okay.
And he says it's based on that he is challenging the figures that his minister has provided, which he says are in error. But even that document, it has no signature, it has no stamp, and the authenticity of that document itself would have to be verified.
And so, he showed you that document himself?
Yeah, he showed it to me on a program, but I don't admit documents just from somebody because they feel that content provided by another person on the floor of Parliament.
But he's not just somebody, he's the Deputy Education Minister.
So do I take his word over the minister?
Documents, but he says that corrections will be made.
When? He said he was going to come to Parliament the next day to do it. He wasn't there.
Okay.
So you want me to take the Deputy Minister's word over the minister's words? This is coming from the minister. Any day, any time, I will prioritize what the minister has said. In all of this debate, have you heard from the minister?
Well, at least we've heard from the Deputy Minister. Is that not enough?
The Deputy Minister was there
on behalf of
when the minister read this response. He was there in the
But he says that mistakes are made. It's a normal thing in Parliament.
But who made the mistake? It is not a normal thing in Parliament. Bella, that's the point that we should make. Parliament is not responsible for the mistake. This mistake, if it is true, came from the ministry.
Okay.
Because I have cross-checked the answer he gave in the other paper with the information the minister conveyed to the clerk of Parliament. So how can Parliament be blamed?
Okay.
What I'm saying is that if there is any mistake that was made, that mistake was not made by Parliament. And Dr. Park is not wrong in concluding based on the simple mathematics that indeed in 2020, one package of the past questions cost 59 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
So it is their cup of tea.
Okay.
They can dance around it as much as they want. This is the official record. It's as simple as that.
Fuseni, what do you say to this? Especially because if you look at the figures again, you'd realize that we bought more at 33 million. Well, until, of course, the minister says 25 million. But for the figures that we have here, it's 33 million for over 560,000 copies. And then in 2021, we're told that we bought less at a higher cost. And that's where the concern is as well, because, again, we know when it comes to printing, the more you print, the lesser the cost. And so if that is happening and we're still paying more for it, as per the numbers that we have, of course, until it's corrected in Parliament, then that should be a problem, especially now the minister is also saying that the figures that are being bandied around are wrong. And so what his minister put out is absolutely wrong.
Thank you, Bella. And let me say a good morning to you again. Good morning to my friend, Dr. Apak. We used to have a good time on the Foreign Affairs Committee and Parliament as a whole. But I'm sure over time we'll get to.
Don't you miss Parliament?
Oh, I do miss Apak though. I do miss.
Oh, you miss him, but not Parliament.
I miss Parliament in general, but there are specific people who have relations with them, and his Fugu is also very nice.
It is.
I should say.
All right.
Let me say a good morning to all Muslims watching us. Today is a very important day on the Islamic calendar. The day of Arafat is one of the notable days where Muslims are supposed to fast and all of that. I hope that God grants us the blessings of the day. And then a good morning to my good people of Okaikwe North, for whom I'm eternally grateful for having given me the opportunity to serve them some time in the past. And the issue on board this morning, I'm glad that we are not actually even talking about the policy itself by helping students with such material.
We'll get to that.
But we are talking about cost, which one party is stating what's in the order paper, and the other party is also saying that there were mistakes which could be corrected. I have been in Parliament, and in Parliament there are processes and procedures. In fact, every day when you go to Parliament, one of the first things that is done is that you bring out the proceedings of the previous day, and members of Parliament are given the opportunity to actually make corrections. And sometimes it's as bad as it could take 2 years for a member of Parliament to correct his name, the spelling of his name. Every day that he's present, he will actually get up and say that my name is not spelled with an H, or it happens. And then we have the other paper, which is a guide on what happens within the day. And when a minister is supposed to answer a question, and depending on the agency of it, the answer is actually put in the other paper. So whether or not you are present, you have the benefit of actually seeing what the minister comes to read out to Parliament. And it is then after all these corrections, then you have the very official recording, the Hansard, before it gets into the Hansard. So it goes through these processes. I'm sure the object is to ensure that every mistake is nipped in the bud before it gets finally into the Hansard. So we have an opportunity. In case of this cost, there are two variables to it. It is the unit cost and the number of papers that were procured in each of the years. And I don't think that we should be spending a lot of energy on this. When the deputy minister, it's admitted that what actually went into the other paper, for which he has an opportunity to correct before it gets into the Hansard, it's been either misstated, either. I mean, I am an accountant. There are quite a couple of errors that could be omissions, commissions, and all of that. I don't see what we are grappling about. The deputy minister has come to say that he has official documents that could authenticate the revised figures that he has. So it's a matter of him going to Parliament.
Before the minister makes a presentation in Parliament, I'm sure that statement goes through processes.
You see, Bella, what happens?
Did nobody identify those mistakes before?
What happens is that the minister will send the answer to the question to the table office. They put the other paper together. The minister probably will come into Parliament that morning and then come and take the other paper and read it out to us, because he had already sent his answer to the question.
But the team prepared that answer for him, no?
Oh, the team did. The team did. And where this mistake is supposed to have come up, it could be anywhere in the chain.
It's not true. It's
it could be anywhere in the chain.
Checked.
Oh, apart.
No. This is a matter of fact.
I am making a point. I am not. Oh.
No, Bella, it's important.
Chief.
I have cross-checked.
Chief.
And the mistake is not from the table office.
Please.
Okay.
It's very important
All
to
right.
establish that.
You please let.
Given the mistake is not from the mistake from the ministry, and we are correcting it. What is it?
But is this a mistake we should be making, especially with regards to how much is being spent?
I did tell you that sometimes a member of Parliament, the spelling of his name, it could take 2 years for the table office to get used to it.
Okay.
Every time, maybe also because maybe they come to in the table office or wherever these records are done. He comes and it's Tuesday today, so he just takes Monday's one and then updates it. Right, and so certain fundamental errors in the Monday's record is not corrected on Tuesday. Right, these are our possibilities. So what is important now is that the deputy minister has come to clarify that, look, this is the number, this is the actual number we bought, and the unit cost in 2019 was 71.2.
Does he not put his boss in a bad light? Because how then?
I am not sure that the deputy minister
is the same person who served as deputy minister under the previous government.
I am not sure that the
and he was in charge of free SHS, basically.
I am not sure that
he should have these, answers.
He should have these answers. Bella, for a deputy minister who is being now promoted to a minister, and for 2019 figures, to be exact on those figures, given what he has to grapple with, I mean, anything could happen.
But free SHS was literally his baby.
It is his baby. It is his baby. But
and so he should have known that these figures that I'm putting out are not exactly the figures that I had to deal with in 2019. 2019 or 2020. You
Bella,
don't think so?
What we are talking about this morning is that wrong figures got into the order paper, for which the ministry and the ministers, the minister himself and the deputy minister are coming out to correct. They will give supporting documents to authenticate the new figures that they are coming out. And like Apaki said, he even has a contract between the ministry and Kingdom, who were the suppliers of the past and the booklets.
But he says it's not signed, so he cannot verify that.
Oh, that's what Apaki is saying.
No, but it's true.
Dr. Apaki is saying on this platform that it is not signed. I haven't seen it. If he cannot take the word of the deputy minister, I don't see how I can take his word that it is not signed.
It is there.
How can he take a document that is not signed around to authenticate figures in the order paper? I also can't take Apaki's name.
That document
I also can't take what Apaki is saying. But the important thing is that we are providing this material to help the students in school excel in their exams. I think that is where we should keep our eyes on.
Well, did we need to spend that much? And Africa Education Watch released a statement. And let me just put this out. So they're saying that students should leave the over 400-page past question books with their respective schools for exams, just as is done with all textbooks. And this will enable students from subsequent batches to use the books for 2 more years. And so with Wi-Fi available in senior high schools, GES must support school heads to take their responsibility of sharing soft or hard copy updates of subsequent years' questions with teachers to facilitate the engagement with students. And so basically they're saying that instead of having to spend so much money on past questions every year ahead of the WASSCE, maybe we can just spend some amount every 3 years on past questions, because it's not only about WASSCE, it's not only about passing the exams. There are so many aspects of education that have not been tackled fully yet. And so that is quite a hefty sum to spend on just past questions.
You see, I have heard this argument, but you see, in preparing for exams, I mean, if you have taken this SAT exams, the GC, you see, the concentration is also on how to even tackle the questions itself. You might know everything. In fact, I must say something. I'm doing a course in Lagos. And last semester in one of my exams, it was some way because in fact I had prepared, but the approach to how to answer the question itself was quite I passed though when the results were released.
Good.
I passed. But you see, we all went through schools, and Apak will admit at A level, at O level, Pasco was some thing that we didn't joke with, and you needed a hard copy of Pasco to sit down. And either whether it was yellow or in A level, the papers were yellow. It was very.
We the rural boys, we never saw Pasco.
You see, it's good that Dr. Apak is admitting that.
No, but I have never disagreed. We are talking about cost.
Today, what we are doing is that every student in school is having access to this Pasco to help them. To help them, to help the fact that you didn't get it doesn't mean that we shouldn't provide. And some of us were probably fortunate to have attended A-listed schools like Presec, so I mean Pasco was quite.
You had to throw that in. But the concern is, should we be buying them every year, because it costs a lot of money that we don't have.
That is. I have heard this argument. Whether we keep it in soft and we print it every year by updating it, it's still going to be some cost. This is where we are now. If there's a way that we could improve and make sure that we utilize our resources more efficiently, why not? If given that the schools have Wi-Fi access, and then we could actually print, and if we could have a system in there to ensure that the cost is even going to be lower, why not? Why not? I am sure that the minister and the ministry will explore those possibilities. This is where we have started off. This is where we are now. If we can make it more efficient and ensure that every WASSCE student has access to this booklet to ensure that they have equal playing field at the exams. Why not? We should be able to explore.
Dr. Final on this one, so we can move on to the next.
It's important to situate this conversation properly. I wasn't the one who triggered this debate. This debate was triggered by the deputy minister because he sought to challenge the information that was out based on the content that his minister had provided. So if they have a problem with what I have said, the right thing to do is to go back to Parliament and withdraw the earlier answer that they say is incorrect, which they provided, and then replace it with what they believe is correct. But you see, Bella, this issue has a lot more facets than many seem to believe. One is the issue of the contract that I was talking about. I saw it was online as part of the minister's effort to rebut what I had put out.
But he said he showed it to you as
yes,
well? Yes,
on the program, but it was even online.
Okay.
And the attempt to try and suggest that I am making a claim that is untrue, which is what I reject. Okay. That is why I keep making references to the fact that if there is anyone to blame for any so-called mistake, I don't believe it until I see a document tabled in Parliament to suggest otherwise, then the minister ought to be held accountable. Now, this contract that I'm telling you about, I have not seen a signature of a representative of the Ministry of Education or Kingdom Books. I have not seen a stamp of any of the two institutions. So the authenticity of that document itself is subject to doubt. And then you see, when I asked the minister the primary question, he knows. In Parliament, when you ask your main question, you get 3 supplementary questions. I asked a question about why the ministry decided to sole source from Kingdom Books. The minister's response to me was that, as far as he knows, it was Kingdom Books that could do the job. But now the deputy minister is telling us that the reason why this sole sourcing took place is because WASSCE has given Kingdom Books the exclusive right to reproduce.
When did the minister tell you this?
This is on the floor of Parliament. This was
you're saying on the floor of Parliament. Exactly. He says what?
He says that the reason why it was sole source is because they know Kingdom Books is the entity that can do the job.
Yes. Does it not mean because WASSCE has given them the rights?
But what documentation has been made available, and I requested that, to show that indeed Kingdom Books has an undertaking or has an agreement with WASSCE, granting WASSCE the full rights to reproduce. We're just saying it by word of mouth for me.
But you are saying you've seen it, but you don't accept it.
The document was the contract.
Between them,
Beyond that is the claim that the reason why this was sole source, 68 million from one company, 2 years in a row for the same product. Was because there was a sole agreement between the two. I've not seen a document indicating that it is only WASSCE that has the right. I say so because government of Ghana, through the ministry, offers WASSCE annual budgetary support. As a member of the education committee, every year WASSCE comes, which means that we have some leverage over WASSCE. We could have gone to WASSCE, even if it was the case that Kingdom Books had the sole rights as they are claiming. We could have used our influence as an entity or a nation that supports WASSCE's budget to also procure the rights and then get a competitive process going to reduce the price. That was not done.
But if they've already given the rights to Kingdom Books, then how do you want to now take the rights?
Because we are government, because we offer them budgetary rights, because it is a choice and a decision that WASSCE has made.
But they'll have to explain why they chose Kingdom Books.
And that is the reason why I'm asking for the document, to see what is the arrangement between WASSCE and Kingdom Books. So you see, this issue has a lot more facets and it's much more nuanced than it looks on the outside. Particularly so when you have these colossal amounts of money being spent at a time where people are raising questions about priorities. These are matters that cannot just be swept under the carpet.
Hussaini, what do you say to this?
I think that what the deputy minister is saying, what the minister is saying are not different things. Kingdom got to the job and they can do the job because they have the rights from WASSCE. Simple. The other bit is that WASSCE is not just Ghana. That Ghana could go and impose whatever we want from WASSCE. WASSCE is made up of WASSCE is made all the Anglophone countries, West Africa. And even when they have budgetary support, when they have budgetary support or whatever they have from the government, any organization like WASSCE, any organization like WASSCE will also try to raise funds internally to generate funds internally. And if these are some of the measures through which WASSCE itself could get some money to support these activities, why not? We can get into some arrangement with WASSCE, but so far as we know, for now, the rights remains with Kingdom, and Kingdom is able to do the job because they have the rights.
But they are not publishers, and so that's why we're asking for documents.
They don't. Do they have a contract and the capacity to do whatever they do? Are they registered with the relevant authorities? I don't know whether we have a list of publishers somewhere where if your name is not on that publishers list, you are unable to undertake such a contract.
Yeah, but that's why we need to see the contract so we understand.
I'm not too sure if they are there is anything.
Let me quickly read some comments and then we'll move on to our next conversation.
Come and take somebody as well.
Okay, here we go. And you can also send yours in. We'll try and read them hopefully later on the show. But this one is from Suleiman Abdul Ganiu in Wale Wale. He says, good morning, Bella. This government, as usual, will throw us figures and they'll end up contradicting themselves. In the first place, where was the deputy education minister when his boss was making those claims? He should be very careful because the records are there already. What a Pasco. Okay. The misquoted figures about the Pasco indicates the clandestine means by which some leaders enrich themselves. Please, let's not compare typographical mistakes in names to errors in figures presented in Parliament. That's Chris from Kumasi. Good morning, Bella. Kudos to Dr. Park for revealing this act. Haha. It's only under President Ekufu that mistakes take 2 years to correct. Hey, MPP, God is watching you. Saviola from Sorano B. Good morning, Bella. The government is not able to provide textbooks for our primary schools, not even copies for teachers to implement the new curriculum. Things are really falling apart in education. Buying past questions for students, indeed. It appears the government is playing too much politics with our education. There are many schools under trees while government is wasting money buying past questions. That's Kweku from La Paz. Good morning, Bella. We're losing huge sums of monies every day. Government-subsidized fertilizers are supposed to be sold at 48 cedis per 25 kilos, but are currently being sold at 60 to 70 cedis by input dealers. This program meant to support the poor farmers has lost its usefulness. Thus, government should just scrap it and stop using the planting for food and jobs as a pro-poor policy and also save the taxpayer. Okay, from Osman Bukurisung in Tamale. Prince Henry from Kufodia says, good morning, Bella. Spending so much money buying past questions for students when they don't have textbooks, learning materials, and lack of teacher motivation. Till now, government basic schools don't have textbooks after introducing new curriculum in 2018. What are our priorities? We're having leadership crisis in our beloved country, Ghana, under Nana Akufo-Addo's government. Regards to Mago, Elikem Kotoko, and Bilbo, and Honorable Fifi Kwete. Mustafa Loamanya Krobo says corruption has taken the center stage. The retail price for Akiola past questions and answer, which is between 93 to date, is 45 Ghana cedis. A+ past questions and answer between 93 to date is the same 45 for retailers. So which publisher is selling their past questions and answers between 2015 to date for 78 Ghana cedis to wholesalers with less than 700 pages? Glorious happy birthday to myself, Mustafa Loamanya Kobo. All what I want to know is, are the past questions a take-home material after completing WASSCE, or are they kept in various school libraries? If the Pasco are not kept for subsequent use, that means that we're going to procure another Pasco for the current batch, which is what we're seeing now. Ghana, our beloved, we're still not free. Empress Selassie from Takrade. Doc, I'll let you respond to this. Are students keeping these past questions, or does it go back to the schools?
Well, I can't respond on my own, but from the responses that were given, both by the minister and then the deputy, the intent is that these past schools will be kept in the schools.
Okay.
But I think that perhaps for the first batch, the proper arrangements were not made.
Okay.
So it's likely that many of the students may have taken them with them home.
Okay.
But I think subsequent to that, what I am hearing is that efforts will be made to make sure that they are kept in the school,
okay.
so that
I think
other batches would have,
be able
use
to.
of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
then if that's the
the
question,
way to
did
go.
we need to buy?
And then
Yeah.
also, I heard they were quoting Akiola Pascos. I don't know whether the contents are same though, because from what I gather, the ones provided by the ministry even has a chief examiner's report, and that also just gets students as to how to prepare for.
Okay,
for
all right.
so
Let's move on now. And last week, the Speaker of Parliament referred Asin Central Legislator Kennedy Japan to the Privileges Committee over alleged threats he made on the life of Erastus Asare Donko. He's a broadcast journalist with Kumasi-based Love FM. And this was after the MP for Tamale, Tamale North, Alassane Suini, made a request on the floor of Parliament for Mr. Japan, who doubles as the chairman of the Defense Committee and Interior Committee of the House, to be dragged before the Privileges Committee. So Mr. Suini argued that the threats from his colleague on the life of the journalist are not only harmful, but a dent on the reputation of the House. And this is what he said. For those utterances to be attributed to the committee chairman of this House, I think it calls for the attention of this House. Mr. Speaker, he said that if he were the president of Ghana, he would have ensured that the said journalist, Erastus Asare Donko, is beaten seriously. And this comes in the wake of another such utterance he made in relation to the late Ahmed Swale, which led to the identity of Swale being compromised and eventually murdered. And this is why he says, I think as a former journalist, I feel obliged to draw the attention of the House to the conduct of the MP, which in my view brings this House into disrepute. Now, also, there are some experts who are saying that the president should have responded by now because of that statement where he said if he were the president of Ghana, he would have ensured that the said journalist is beaten seriously. The president should be able to distance himself from this and come out and say that I am the president, and so I don't think that it was responsible for him to make these comments. I'll start with you, Fuseni. What do you make of this whole issue with regards to this threat that has been made against the journalist?
I have followed this matter in the media and even in Parliament, and I think that it's a very interesting matter. We all know our big brother, Honorable Kennedy Akumpreko. We know him, his colorfulness and his all of that. But when politicians are on platforms, I mean, it's happened so many times in this country. And sometimes you say things, and then the next minute you maybe I should have said it. I could have said the same thing in a more composed manner. And subsequently I've even heard that he is actually cooperating with the committee in Parliament to be able to put some of these things. And you've heard the Deputy Leader, Honorable Afenyo also speak on the issue. But you see, when you see your neighbor's beard burning, you look for water and then put it next to yours. It's very interesting that this is coming from a gentleman like Honorable Suhini. He himself is been there. He's been through issues like that.
When you say he's
and I'm
been
saying
through
that,
issues like
look,
that,
in my 4 years in Parliament, he was the only member of Parliament who was expelled from plenary by a speaker. In my 4 years in Parliament with him.
For doing what exactly?
Because he was misbehaving. Because he was misbehaving. No, I'm just saying that. Look, sometimes we do things that we probably won't be proud of the next minute. In my 4 years in Parliament, he was so disruptive in the chamber. I was present.
Okay.
That he was the only person that I saw within 4 years who was expelled from the chamber. So he should know that some of these things happen. But when it happens, as an institution in Parliament, I will forever, I had a privilege of being in Parliament, and I will forever actually support that institution, its growth, and when it goes wrong, we have to build up that institution. When there's something untoward, we will actually come out and speak and make sure that the right things are done. I am happy that at this stage, the Speaker actually put this matter up to a committee. Honorable Kennedy Japan is cooperating with them, and I think that we shouldn't really make too much of this. I think that there's a way to rectify this. For you to say that the president should speak on this issue and distance himself from. If I sit here and make a statement, if I sit here and make a statement, and you expect, if I sit here and make a statement, about the late
Ahmed Swale, till date we can't even figure out who killed him. And so is that not why people are concerned that the last time that we saw some threats being made against Ahmed Swale and his photos being, circulated, he was murdered. But and now another journalist is being threatened.
Are we certain that Ahmed Swale was murdered as a result of what expose or whatever somebody might have made in the media?
Are you really saying this?
No, I'm asking questions.
Are you really saying this? His pictures were circulated.
Was it the right
Before
picture?
Then, I don't think
that right picture that was circulated?
Oh, wow.
Was it the right picture?
It wasn't the right picture?
It's all,
it wasn't. You didn't see the picture?
Investigations.
You didn't see the picture that was circulated?
I can't recollect.
Is it any different from Ahmed Swale who was murdered?
I can't recollect exactly what happened.
But what I'm asking is there was an antecedent where pictures were circulated and then later the journalist was murdered. And so should we not be concerned and treat this with,
in the case of Erasmus, is his identity hidden? With
the seriousness that we should, because again, another journalist has been threatened.
If you want to draw equals to Erasmus, I don't think his identity is hidden. I don't think a lot of people will have trouble to figure out how Erasmus
But at least this is an MP who carries a lot of clout that's saying that if he were the president, he would have called for him to be beaten seriously.
This issue of the
should we not be concerned about it?
I think that this issue of pulling the president and for him reacting or saying...
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm saying that for him to make this statement, should we not treat it with the seriousness that it deserves, especially because of what has happened in the past?
And the seriousness is it's being taken to the privileged committee or something like that. Let's wait. Let's give them the opportunity to come out with a report or some recommendations or something as to what we can do.
So he's the chair of the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament. And so you would expect...
He's a member of Parliament first.
Oh, of course, but he's also the chair. He's been made the chair of the Interior and Defense Committee. And so you would expect that he'll be measured by some of the comments or the statements that he makes as well.
He's a member of Parliament first before the chair of
so it was okay for him to make that statement?
I'm not saying it's okay.
I'm trying to understand,
that is not what I'm saying.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
What I'm saying now is that he made certain statements. Honorable Soyini deemed it fit to bring it to the notice of Parliament. The Speaker has made a pronouncement. There's a committee going to work on it. Already we are hearing that there's cooperation between him and the ruling the Speaker gave and how this should be investigated. Let's give Parliament as an institution the opportunity to investigate and come out with a report so we see the final.
Dr. Park, you have raised concerns about the fact that he is the chair of the Defense Committee and Interior. And so for that reason, he should have been measured with the statements that he made. Tell us why, because Honorable Hussaini says that he's a member of Parliament even before becoming the chair.
First of all, it's important to point out how difficult it is to defend the specific pronouncements made by the Honorable
He's not
member
defending
of
necessarily, because he did say that it's been forwarded.
I've not mentioned his name.
Okay.
I said it is difficult
I'm
to
just
defend.
clarifying so that people don't misconstrue.
I would have said it.
Okay.
I said it is very difficult to defend because it's indefensible. It's simply what I am trying to say. And I think that my honorable former colleague is not being fair to Suhini by the references that he made.
With
regards to the incident that happened.
It is not factual.
I was also there.
Is it not factual? Tell me it's not
Suhini
factual.
had tried to catch the eye of the Speaker because he wanted to make a contribution. So in his attempt to try and get the Speaker's attention, the Speaker deemed his conduct not to be acceptable. And therefore, he was asked to leave the chamber.
No,
but
Apak. The Speaker warned him at least twice before he was expelled.
How was he trying to get the Speaker's attention?
In Parliament, you know, you must catch the Speaker's eye. You stand up. If he sees you, he calls you.
He was shouting and making unprintable remarks about the Speaker whilst he was presiding on proceedings.
Look, you see, was Suhini punished or not? He was, because he indicated that the Speaker expelled him. So he was punished for his deeds, right? Let's put that aside. The issue of Honorable Kenneth Japan is an issue that should concern every Ghanaian. And unless we want to play the ostrich, we must admit that his pronouncements constantly, his conduct constantly has always bordered on issues of threats, issues of blackmail, issues of intimidation, and it's as though he is a demigod in himself, that even the powers that be are afraid to hold him accountable and to tell him that his conduct is unacceptable. And that is why the call by the likes of Riku Brobe and many other Ghanaians to the president to have made a comment to disassociate himself with a commentary that would suggest that the president will somehow condone, you know, the violation of the rights of another citizen.
But how does his silent condone it necessarily?
Well, first of all, Kennedy Japan is not just an ordinary member of Parliament. We all know that. We know.
What is he?
We also know that he is a very important member of the ruling NPP.
Like me?
Not even, he says it himself about his capacity what he can do.
But if he says it, doesn't mean that he necessarily is.
The point is that then disassociate yourself with him. In all of this that we are talking about, from the threat to Ameswale that he made, the way he treated Anas with his own counter initiatives, and all the other persons who have been victims of his pronouncements. Have you ever heard the NPP officially disassociate or condemn his conduct? They can't. For whatever reason.
Why can't they and why won't they?
Well, that is the question people are asking.
You are saying they can't.
What do you want us
to do?
Have they done it?
What do you want us to do?
Babella, look, let truth be told. When I heard that my colleague was made the chairperson of Defense and Interior, I cringed.
Why?
Because for somebody who has a tendency to issue threats of violence, somebody who can boast about not having regard for the security corps, the police service, the judiciary.
Really?
Somebody who can openly talk about getting some of their party boys recruited into the Ghana army and the police and security agencies. Somebody who can, challenge the security establishment, speaks and mentions them in context that I don't want to repeat. Recently, you heard the pronouncement he made about judges. And he walks away free all the time.
But at least there was one time where he said something that was derogatory towards lawyer Samida when he was made to apologize.
So you and I, if we do that, if you say disparaging things about a judge, you think you can just walk away like that with a slap on your wrist. The point I'm trying to make is this. Putting somebody like that in charge of a committee that is supposed to oversee our law enforcement, our internal and external security, and to protect the rights of citizens, is at variance because his pronouncements alone. I mean, and that is why I am wondering how that came to be, because he knows in Ghanaian politics, you don't get to chair a committee without the consent of your party's leadership. It's not just the parliamentary leadership. We all know. So I have argued that he is why he is because his party agrees that he should be there. And the president agrees that he should be there. If President Akufo-Addo and the leadership of the NPP,
you can't make this.
Hold on.
The leadership
Let him respond.
Leadership of committees. So
he is consulted and he has a say.
No, but like Hussein is saying, the president does not.
I said he agrees.
He agrees.
He chooses.
How does he agree? Do we have any evidence to indicate that he agreed that Honorable Kennedy Japan should be the chair of the committee?
Let me tell you the way it works.
Oh,
so when we are in Parliament,
hold on, Hussein, please.
When we are in Parliament, we come. Then, selection committee, they are going to appoint leadership. Every side, majority, minority, you propose persons. You go to the selection committee, they are considered. But before you do that, usually your party has a say.
Okay.
About who
How is
yes,
How is that?
We know.
How is that?
Don't play the ostrich.
No, our leaders in
Don't
Parliament
play the ostrich.
Do they not? Do they not consult
based on your
party leaders?
They consult.
When I got to Parliament,
They consult.
I got it onto the finance committee because of where I was coming from.
Do they not consult party leaders?
Why do you think leadership? Why do you think front bench? Why do you think front bench leadership in Parliament is changed?
Whatever.
How do you think that happens?
So they do consult.
No, whatever. It's not even a part of the processes.
No.
The people who select membership of committees and leadership of committees are our leaders in Parliament.
Okay.
We can beat about the bush as much as we want.
Let's carry on, please. My time is up. We'll have to go soon.
How do you think leadership of front benches are changed? Why do you think that the leadership of the majority has changed?
Once the party determines who the leadership of the caucuses are.
But you mentioned party.
No, what I'm saying is that once the leadership, the party determines who the leadership of the caucus are.
And who is the leader of the party?
The caucus is left to do their work.
Who is the leader of the party?
Once the party determines who the leader. So if he was appointed by the party, then he would have to go back to consult with them on other decisions, no?
What I'm saying is that the leader in Parliament cannot go to the party to consult on every.
But who agreed on him to be the leader?
Of course, it's selected by
the party.
Yes.
So that's what I'm asking, that if they selected him,
in this case, for Dr.
he cannot
to say that for Dr. Park to say
against the party's wishes
for Dr.
in
Park to say
Parliament,
that the
can he?
leadership of that committee was done in consultation of the president, it's
I said
not
he
true.
agrees.
It is not.
If the president doesn't agree,
if he's not consulted, how can he agree to it?
Bella,
If he is not consulted, how can he agree?
Okay,
I've
hold on,
worked in the
please.
presidency before. I've served the president before.
Okay.
These things, that is the way.
So it did
But there are
happen
processes
under
in
your...
Parliament.
It happens.
They have,
So it happens under the
that.
NDC.
If the
He's
NDC
saying that it
does
doesn't.
does
Well,
not
he
do
can
that.
beat about the bush.
If the NDC does that, the NPP does
Okay,
not do that.
establish. Let's
the
move
point
on.
I'm making is that the call for the president to disassociate himself is in order.
Okay.
And I have justified
It is
that by
irrelevant.
indicating that
It is
all
irrelevant.
of these times that the Honorable Kennedy Japan has made pronouncements that many Ghanaians, including myself, have found to be unacceptable and worrisome. The NPP as a party has failed to call him to order. And so he's emboldened. And he will keep doing it until there is a check. It's as simple as that.
Okay, well, someone says that you're being dishonest, Honorable Hussaini, because you know
Where's
that
my dishonesty?
you know that there are consultations that are being made all the way to the top to the president.
What I'm
And
saying
so
is that
you can't necessarily
the
say that they
president
do not consult.
won't bother and concern himself with who chairs a committee in Parliament.
Really? Finance committee?
When we
Defense
have
and
leadership,
Interior?
when we have leadership in Parliament, whose job it is to select who represents the caucuses on the committees and even the leadership of the committee.
Okay.
So to say that somebody is a chairman of a committee because he has a blessing of the president, it's not.
Okay.
Let me make
Do
this
we
last
have
point.
hope in
Does
the
not happen
privileges
in the new
committee
Let me
moving
make
forward? What are we
NDC does
expecting
that,
will come
if
out of
the
this?
NDC, if the NDC leadership micromanages their leadership in Parliament, that is not what happens.
You've been in
the-
Parliament
you let
before.
me make this
What are
last
your
point. That's what I'm
expectations?
saying.
Sorry, Doc, please hold on. What are your expectations with regards to the Privileges Committee and Honorable Kennedy Japan being referred? Because now
I still
the
believe
NPP
that-
is also saying that Mr. Sami Jemfi should also be referred to.
I still believe that Parliament is an institution capable of managing its affairs.
Okay.
Because we have whatever it takes to do it, and so I'll leave the matter for the leadership of Parliament to do it.
Okay, Doc.
Whatever they
Well,
come
the
with.
point I
Your
want to
final
make
point,
before
because
I
now
conclude-
Mr. Sami Jemfi is also being brought into the
well,
fray.
I don't think that is justified. This issue to equalize has no basis. But in any case, the point to make is that there are some key committees of Parliament, Finance, Defense and Interior, for the exact reason why they are called Defense and Interior and Finance. There is no leader of any political party in this country who will be occupying the presidency who will not have an interest about who chairs those committees. But be as it may, I am hoping.
Having an
that
interest
I
in
am-
being consulted.
Hussaini,
and
please,
agreeing
we
to
have
it.
to go. I'm just trying to get
I am
your
hoping that
words before.
don't worry.
Doc, I said sorry.
I am hoping that the process would unfold
Okay.
and that the truth will be allowed to stand. Because the last time this came up, where he went to the Privileges Committee and the report came, before we even took the vote, the kinds of things that happened and the disagreements that led to him being reprimanded instead of being expelled, I don't think that will happen this time because the numbers have changed.
Okay.
And we are
Okay.
expecting that the truth will be established.
All
And
right.
the
You
right thing
expect
will
the
be
truth to be established. So 10 seconds,
your
Hussaini.
own sentence. You gave your own sentence in a matter that Parliament as a body had to. The matter came to plenary. I think we even had to vote on it. And whatever repercussions, or he was reprimanded, and that's it.
Okay.
What's being reprimanded?
All
You
right.
wanted him expelled from Parliament.
That was an option.
That is.
Okay.
an option. They-
Well,
the committee
thank you.
recommended-
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
It remains an option.
Thank you so much. I've been speaking to Dr. Clement Apak. He's the MP for Bosa South and also the Deputy Ranking Member on the Education Committee in Parliament. Hussaini Issa is a former Member of Parliament for the Okankwe North constituency in the Greater Accra region. I'm sure you're already working towards, taking back the title.
The politician never retired.
He never retires. We'll be right back. Big thank you to